warrants. Dangerous things can happen, and this was carried out safely and securely thanks to all of the people standing around me. They have worked tirelessly on this. Today's arrest happened because the Trump administration has made this case a priority. The total lack of movement on this case in our nation's capital undermined the public trust of our enforcement agencies. This cold case languished for 4 years until Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino came to the FBI. The FBI, along with U.S. Attorney Pirro and all of our prosecutors, have worked tirelessly for months, sifting through evidence that had been sitting at the FBI with the Biden administration for 4 long years. Let me be clear, there was no new tip, there was no new witness, just good, diligent police work and prosecutorial work, working as a team along with ATF, Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and of course, the FBI. We are working every day to restore the public's trust. We hope that today is a significant step towards that progress. We'll share more information when we can and when it unfolds. I cannot stress enough how hard Director Patel and Deputy Director Bongino have worked for months to make our nation's capital safer and to make our country safer. I'd like to introduce now Director Patel.
Thank you, General. When you attack American citizens, when you attack our institutions of legislation, when you attack our nation's capital, you attack the very being of our way of life. And this FBI and this Department of Justice stand here to tell you that we will always refute it and combat it. We will provide the safest country the nation has ever seen under President Trump's leadership here. And that's what we did here today with great resolve on a case of massive public importance, as it should be. An individual who is now alleged to have placed multiple explosive devices to blow up multiple people and multiple officials, innocent civilians, is now arrested thanks to the brave men and women of the FBI and the interagency. I want to take a moment to thank the Metropolitan Police Department, the United States Capitol Police, our brave prosecutors, the Department of Justice, and our leader, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, whose relentless work on this case made this possible. As the Attorney General said, we did not discover any new information. What we did, an investigation spearheaded by the deputy director and the ADIC of our Washington field office, brought in a new team of investigators and experts, re-examined every piece of evidence, sifted through all the data, something that the prior administration refused and failed to do. As a result of that, we generated numerous investigative leads, executed multiple legal process with our U.S. attorney partners, and came to this conclusion today. And that is why we were able to safely secure this individual into custody. Remember, we are dealing with an individual who is alleged to have made bombs. We cannot do this sort of takedown in haste because it endangers the lives of law enforcement. And this FBI will never allow the lives of law enforcement and our prosecutors to be put in jeopardy. This execution was flawless in terms of teamwork, resilience, and just a good old-fashioned way of police getting the job done. When you let good cops be cops, this is what happens. I'm eternally grateful to the team behind me, to the leadership at the FBI who made this possible. But I do want to highlight, when I introduce the deputy, he made this case and so many others, including Summer Heat, his priority to come in here and solve it for the American people. And today, I'm proud to stand here before you and say, we solved it. He will have his day in court. The American public and the world will learn even more information through the legal process, as we have committed under this Attorney General. We are the most transparent law enforcement operation in U.S. history, but we are also going to make sure accountability is delivered to its fullest extent, and that happens in the courts of law with our U.S. attorneys and our prosecutors. So we will divulge information when it is prudent and constitutionally permissible, while upholding the safeguards of this case to make sure that the people that this individual intended to victimize get the accountability they deserve, and most importantly, to deliver on President Trump's promise to secure our nation's capital and the rest of the cities in this country to make sure that Americans are allowed to go out free and securely in their neighborhoods, and that people around the world are allowed to visit our nation's capital, and they now have that trust thanks to the leadership of the FBI, the Washington Field Office, and I'm honored now to introduce to you Deputy Director Bongino, who spearheaded this investigation.
Thank you all for being here for this critical investigation we've been working on for a very long time. We deeply appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words, Attorney General and Director. I appreciate it. Folks, this is what it's like when you work for a president who tells you to go get the bad guys and stop focusing on other extraneous things not related to law enforcement. This is what happens. We had a great team. I know it's said a lot in this business. It was a team effort. It becomes cliche, but cliches are useful for a reason because they matter. And this was a team effort. The director and the attorney general emphasized that it was not a new public tip this came from. This was our internal work at the FBI. And I want to just really express my sincere gratitude to this attorney general and this president for allowing us the latitude. I spoke with Ms. Bondi very early when we, maybe day 2, and I said, we're going to get this guy. And she said, yes, you are. And we did. I want to also thank, he's not here, but Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who we deal with often as well, who could not have been more supportive. Whatever process we need, Judge Janine, Todd, and Attorney General Bondi, they were there. All you had to do, they were a phone call away. And their team was amazing. We actually never had to make that phone call because they were always responsive. Thank you, Judge, as well. You were amazing. Folks, you're not going to walk into our capital city, put down 2 explosive devices, and walk off in the sunset. Not going to happen. We were going to track this person to the end of the earth. There was no way he was getting away. Well, we didn't have to track him.
We've been listening to this news conference from Attorney General Pam Bondi and the Director of the FBI, Kash Patel, that Brian Cole Jr. has been arrested for using an explosive device. They accuse him of planting those pipe bombs back in 2021 at the Republican and Democratic National Headquarters in D.C. Remember, these were pipe bombs that were placed just before the January 6th Capitol riot. Joining us now in studio is both Tom Winter and Laura Jarrett. Tom, I'm going to start with you. They had released surveillance video that we've seen. They released surveillance photos as well of the pipe bombs, of the sneakers. Little by little over these years, they've sort of released some evidence, but it was a cold case for a very long time. Do we know what sort of broke here?
Yeah, it appears to be a review of the evidence. The FBI has used this in the past. I'm thinking of the person who was mailing anthrax around the country. There was a new team that was put on it, fresh eyes that was put on it. Some of the evidence here, Tom, was particularly unique, especially the Nike sneakers that they found that this individual was wearing. Only 25,000 of them were made from a period of 2018 to 2021, the morning that these bombs were discovered. You're looking at a photograph of them there. And so that was a unique piece of evidence. This individual had a specific way that they were walking. But what made it difficult is because of the hooded sweatshirt, the mask that this person was wearing, there didn't appear to be an area where they were able to see their face. What was surprising to a lot of people that looked at this investigation is, given the fact that people travel around with phones on them all the time, the FBI has successfully used in the past the ability to geolocate cell phones and try to determine where a person might be. And so that'll be a question as to, was that information helpful? Was that information not initially discovered or reviewed? So there'll be a lot of questions about the investigation based on what the Attorney General said. But the Attorney General did say there was no new tip and no new witness. This was just a review of the case file that ultimately led to the capture today.
And Laura, we've been talking about this. There's a lot still we don't know how they caught this suspect, right? Because these court documents are still sealed.
They're still under seal. We haven't seen them yet. Obviously, the Attorney General and the FBI Director, they're giving a sort of an overview of being charged with making those threats. Anytime you're using the mail, you're using the telephone, you have a federal nexus. That's what sort of triggers the federal charges. But there are going to be, I'm sure, some details in those charging papers that kind of describe some more evidence that we probably hadn't yet seen.
And Tom, our viewers may be listening to this and trying to remember this. It was a chaotic time, obviously, in our country. 2023. It was following the January 6th Capitol riot. This happened at Well, was being reported, and then it sort of dropped off the radar a little bit with incremental sort of updates with surveillance videos or photos or, rewards up to $500,000. It's back on the radar now, and I'm sure in the days and hours ahead, we're going to learn more about this suspect, Brian Cole Jr.
Well, and I think the thing that we want to learn the most is what was the motivation here? Was this person involved in some of the protests or the efforts to protest the results of the 2020 election? This person have their own motives? Is this person more of an anarchist? Was this somebody who just wanted to sow discord on that day? Obviously, a lot of focus on that day and what was expected to be a protest, and then obviously the violence that we saw on January 6th. So there's going to be questions about that, and there's going to be questions about, was this an effort to divert law enforcement to be able to get them to respond if these devices went off?
The pipe bombs were assembled. They did not go off, but they were viable.
They were viable. They had a kind of a kitchen timer on them. This is something that we've seen in terrorist materials before, a galvanized pipe. I've held mock-ups of these bombs before. They are, unfortunately, Tom, a little too easy to make.
Laura, before we get off the air, what are the next steps in the legal process here? He's going to be provided an attorney if he can't hire one?
Yes, he will be presented in court. He will have his first appearance, and then we're off to the races in terms of discovery, and we'll learn more information about his background very soon.
And then, Tom, real quick, we only have about 30 seconds here. There were so many conspiracy theories about this sort of crime, and maybe these will be put to rest now.
Hopefully, once we get those charging documents, we'll get the details that Laura talked about. Hopefully, we'll get some information on the motive. And as they said, the investigation remains ongoing. Hopefully, that informs us on what happened in this.
Tom and Laura, we thank you so much. That's going to conclude this NBC News special report. We're going to have much more ahead on your local station, our streaming network, NBC News Now, online at NBCnews.com, and tonight on Nightly. Thank you.